Hello guys, hope you're doing just fine. I selected a fine piece of work for today's. Let's read. We're gonna read about climate. We're gonna talk about reasons why we people reject facts and science and data. Why do we reject all these things? When it comes to climate change, when it comes to environmental disasters, we are a little bit in the denial mood. So, why do we do that? We're going to talk about it and we're going to discuss it. Now, take a look at the passage. Let's read it together. So, first, let's take a look at the title. Some of you may have seen the movie called Don't Look Up. It's this movie where DiCaprio and Jennifer Lawrence together try to convince the United States president that a comet is approaching Earth. Something terrible that's gonna destroy life on Earth. Which is something terrible, of course. It has happened before based on scientific data, and in this movie, it looks like it's gonna happen again. And unfortunately, the US president does not accept their facts and they take no serious action to stop this comet from hitting Earth. What happens is, something very terrible happens. Everything just dies out and everything disappears. That's the end of the movie. Anyway, that was a spoiler. Anyway, you should watch the movie. It's perfect. And actually, this article is about the movie and also some things that the movie can teach us. Hollywood's primer on climate denial illustrates 5 myths that fuel rejection of science. Rejection of science means denying science, rejecting it. And myth, you know that. Something which is unreal. Myth. And illustrates means shows. Primer is anything that comes out as an introduction. Hollywood has not made a lot of movies on the subject in which the focus is on denying science. There are, of course, movies in which, there is a guy who knows better than the most, tries to help everyone, and at the end, they usually succeed. But in this case, it's just the opposite. People don't listen and something terrible happens. Hollywood's primer on climate denial illustrates 5 myths that fuel rejection of science. As I have written here, fuel means rejection. Sorry, fuel means to support. I just made a mistake. Anyway, let's move on. Every disaster movie seems to open with a scientist being ignored. That's always the case. Disaster movie are movies about terrible things that happen to people. Like there is a tsunami, I don't know, there's a tornado approaching, some guy captured it on the satellites and other people just don't listen to the guy and it just keeps happening. Being ignored. This is passive, right? People don't take them seriously. Don't Look Up is no exception. In fact, people ignoring or flat out denying. Flat out means directly denying. Let me give you a good example of the word flat out. Let's say you hate your friend, but you don't want to say it out loud. So you just keep ignoring their calls or replying to their messages. And then one day, you just flat out tell them, you directly tell them that you don't like them. Hey, blah blah, I don't like you. That's saying something flat out. Anyway, denying scientific evidence is the point. So, that's it, guys. Leonardo DiCaprio and Jennifer Lawrence play astronomers who make a literally earth-shattering discovery. Well, they're not astronomers. They are astrophysicists, actually. This is not actually a little bit exact here. these two people, actually, Leonardo DiCaprio plays the role of a professor, and Jennifer Lawrence is a PhD student in astrophysics. Actually, earth-shattering discovery. They make a literally means exactly. Earth-shattering discovery means amazing, incredible, something that shatters. Shatter means to move something. Earth-shattering discovery. And then try to persuade the president to take action. Take action means do something to save humanity. Well, not just humanity, to be honest, to save everything. Every form of life on Earth. It's a satire. Satire is like a sad joke, It's like an allegory, It looks like our real world, but in a little bit funny way, because it has a funny tone to it, The movie is a little bit funny. And that explores how individuals and scientists, the media and politicians, you see, individuals, scientists, the media and politicians respond when faced with scientific facts, when they are faced with scientific data, exact data that shows something might happen, and that something might be the end of all forms of life, that are uncomfortable, threatening, and inconvenient. Yeah, these facts are sometimes uncomfortable, inconvenient, or let's say, let me make myself a little bigger. Is it possible? No, that's too big. Just go back, please. Okay. Just a second, guys. Okay, let's continue. So the information can be earth-shattering, can be so amazing and shocking, Discover and then try to persuade the president. Persuade somebody means to talk to them so that they would accept what you're telling them. It's a satire that explores how people respond when they are faced with inconvenient, uncomfortable, and sometimes threatening data. So the movie is an allegory for climate change, of course. In the movie, there is a comet approaching Earth, but in real life, the threat that we are all facing these days is climate change. Global warming, melting glaciers at the poles, rising sea levels, and blah, blah, blah. Showing how those with the power to do something about global warming willfully, as I have written, means intentionally. They want to. It's not that they do something because they don't know it. No, they do it because they want to do it. It's intentional, not accidental, or not something that you do out of lack of knowledge or something. Willfully avoid taking action, doing something. And how those with vested interests means shared interests. They have an interest in this. So if they don't want to take action because they don't want to lose their own interests, we call them vested interests, can mislead the public. Mislead the public means distract the public. That's very easy. Let's say something terrible is gonna happen, like in the world. Just take a look at your phone, go on Instagram, YouTube, anywhere else. Now what you see is just nothing really important. One of the most serious things that everybody has got to worry about, everybody has got to do their part to help, is global warming and environmental problems. But the question is, are we really doing anything? I don't think so. But it also reflects science denial more broadly. Reflects means shows, including what the world has been seeing with COVID-19. So as in the case of COVID, oh my God. So So COVID started, and it is spread to many countries in the world, and a lot of people started saying a lot of things, you know, about COVID. Like some of them said vaccination might, blah, blah, your brain, I don't know, vaccination makes men infertile, blah, blah. There was a lot of false information, or as Trump called it, fake news on everywhere on the media. And that's a form of denial, and that's a form of misleading. Now, the most important difference between the film's premise means assumption, and humanity's actual looming crisis. Looming means approaching crisis. Now, let's say this is a crisis, and this is us. It is looming, Looming crisis means something that's getting closer and closer. Is that while individuals may be powerless against, see here, against the comet, we are powerless against the comet. To be honest, we can't just send a couple of bombs and deflect or the direction of the comet, just change its direction. No. Everyone, I'm saying everyone, every single one of us can act decisively or effectively to stop fueling climate change. We can stop it from getting worse, but we're not doing our part. So, knowing the myths that feed science denial can help. Feed here means fuel, same thing. It's like there's a fire, you're putting some woods on it, so you're feeding the fire. Here, you're feeding the denial of science. As research psychologists and authors of Science Denial, Why It Happens and What to Do About It, we recognize these aspects of science denial all too well. Guys, I'm going to share the link to this article at the captions. Just make sure that you check it. And also, I'm going to mention here, I'd like to thank every single one of the people working with me, especially Ms. Abbasi and Mr. Nazik Bean. These two guys are really helpful. And also make sure that you subscribe and also click on that ring button so that you will be notified whenever I share a video here. Myth number 1. We can't act unless the science is 100%. Well, in science, there is no 100%. There is always a margin for errors. They say, for example, we are 99% sure that, for example, a certain drug can help with a certain illness. But they never say it is a 100% thing. So the first question of President Orlean, Meryl Streep, that's the actor, asks the scientists after they explain that a comet is on a collision course with Earth. Collision means accident, when two things just boom, collision. On a collision course towards it. This is Earth, this is the comet, this is a course of collision. We say collision course. What Earth is. So how certain is this? Learning that the certitude means level of certainty. Level of certainty is 99.78%. The president's chief of staff, Jonah Hill, chief of staff, that's one of the positions that people have there, responds with relief. Oh, great. So it's not 100%. So they respond with relief. So it's not 100%. Government scientist Teddy Oglethorpe, Rob Morgan, replies, scientists never like to say 100%. Yeah, that's true. They never like to say 100%. This reluctance means unwillingness. To claim 100% certainty is a strength. Okay? Opposite of weakness. Strength, opposite is weakness, as I've written here, of science. It's a strength of science. Even when the evidence points clearly in one direction. The evidence and everything is in only one direction. Even in that case, that's the science's strength, not a weakness. So evidence points, it's a good collocation, clearly in one direction. Scientists keep exploring to learn more. At the same time, they recognize overwhelming evidence. They discover overwhelming evidence and act on it. The evidence is overwhelming that Earth's climate is changing in dangerous ways. Oh my God. Because of human activities, because of me, because of you. Particularly the burning of fossil fuels. That's the biggest issue these days. A lot of countries are shifting towards clean energy, like, I don't know, energy from wind, I don't know, solar power, electricity. But as you know, not everywhere electricity comes from, clean energy like solar power. Like in my country, Iran, most of the, let's say 90% of the electricity comes from burning fossil fuels. So it doesn't matter if you use an electric car or just use a normal car, you might end up having the same bad effect on the environment. Because in both cases, there has got to be some CO2 produced, some CO2 produced. That's terrible. It's been overwhelming for many years. Overwhelming means it's everywhere. It's everywhere. We have a ton of information everywhere. Oh my God, this article is so interesting. So, when politicians take a let's wait and see attitude, means they say, okay, let's wait and see what happens toward climate change, or sit tight and assess. Sit tight means just sit comfortably, like this, And assess means evaluate. They look at the situation, As the movie puts it, means as the movie shows it, suggesting they need more evidence before taking action. It's more a form of science denial. Sometimes you can't just sit back and relax and say, okay, expect everything to be okay, You've got to sit up, you've got to take action, you've got to do something. Are we really doing something? I don't know. And I can't say we are, Okay, let's take a look at the second part. Now, disturbing realities, disturbing information. Disturbing means uncomfortable information, something bad about the environment. Let's say somebody tells you, we don't have enough oxygen for the next month. What would you do? That's disturbing reality, as described by scientists, are too difficult for the public to accept. We don't accept it in many cases. It's too difficult for us to accept. The title phrase, "Don't Look Up," portrays, illustrates, shows this psychological assumption, this psychological premise, as we studied before, premise, and how some politicians conveniently use it as an excuse for inaction. Conveniently means comfortably. Use it as an excuse, as a reason. When you want to do something terrible and you have a reason for that, or when you don't want to do something, like you don't want to do your homework, what would your excuse be? Like, say, okay, sorry sir, sorry teacher, I was at a party yesterday with my parents and I left my books at home. That's why I couldn't do my homework. Inaction means inactivity, not being able to do something, while promoting their own interests. Promoting their own vested interests. Be careful, vested interests. Anxiety is a growing and understandable psychological response. Now, the first thing we do, we get anxious, That's a growing, increasing, psychological response. You first get at first you get a little, anxious, and then, a little more, and then it goes on and on. Research shows there are strategies people can use to effectively cope with climate anxiety. Yeah, there are certain strategies we can use to cope with this. Cope with something means to handle it, deal with something. Cope with climate anxiety. such as becoming better informed and talking about the problem with others. To become better informed means to get more information. Some of the information we get from the internet, from our friends or books, might be wrong, and sometimes the information we get is not enough. So what we need to do is to become better informed, and we should talk about the problem with others. We talk about the problems that in that case we share this anxiety. It becomes less. This gives individuals a way to manage anxiety while at the same time taking actions to lower the risks. This is another way, So we can do these things, but are we really doing them? A 2021 international study found that 80% of individuals are indeed means in fact, are indeed willing, opposite of reluctant to, are willing to make changes in how they live and work to help reduce the effects of climate change. See, be careful. It doesn't say they are actually doing it. They are willing to do it. They want to do it. But are they really doing it? That's what matters. Myth number 3. Up to now, we have some good knowledge about why we deny science. Technology will save us so we don't have to act. So this is when too much trust in technology can actually have the negative effect, because we think, okay, technology can do something. They will find a way to, for example, capture CO2 and or other greenhouse gases, but it is not really happening, guys. Often individuals want to believe in an outcome they prefer. You want to believe in a result that you like, rather than confront reality, face reality. Just think about the things that you have done up until now. Sometimes we just expect, our favorite outcome. We just want it to happen. But is it really happening? I don't know. Known to be true, a response that psychologists call motivated reasoning. When we say motivated reasoning, it means because you want something that you did, to happen, and then you just have a certain type of reasoning. A good example is when you do something terrible. Let's say, scream at your friend. Okay, I guess you have done it. We have all done it at some point. And then you come up with a form of reasoning to justify that. Yeah, but the way he talked to me was not good, so he deserves it. Or you just try to be logical in a way to justify your bad action. That's called motivated reasoning. You're just trying to justify what you did instead of reasoning. Are you being completely logical? I don't know. Maybe not. Because even if he did something bad, maybe he did not deserve to be shouted at. Okay? So, for example, believe that a single technological solution, just one solution, such as carbon capture, we capture carbon dioxide as it comes out the exhaust of cars or companies or factories, will fix the climate crisis without the need for change in politics, policies, lifestyles, and practices, maybe more grounded in hope than reality. So just there is one solution and that's okay, and then I'm not going to change anything in my life. No policy, no changes in policies, lifestyle, it should be the same, no changes again. And practices or activities that we do, same thing. So that's not good. Technology can help reduce our impact on climate. However, it can help us. However, research suggests advances are unlikely to come quickly enough. The advances, the discoveries, the inventions, the things that the science is doing, they're not expected to come to us or take effect or have a good result over the, let's say, coming couple of weeks. Hoping for such solutions diverts attention, means changes the direction of our attention, distracts us, distracts our attention from significant changes needed in the way we work, live, and play, and is a form of science denial, guys. That's terrible. Myth number 4. The economy is more important than anything, including impending crises predicted by science. To be honest, yeah, these days economy is very important. In fact, the world is run by economy. Even on this YouTube page, you see a lot of ads, you see a lot of people producing content. Who do you think is supporting all this? The companies. The companies which need to be promoted, they pay YouTube, YouTube pays you, and then you just keep producing something. The world is economy based. That's why they maybe, some people call it a capitalist system of, world. Anyway, taking action to show climate change will be expensive, of course. You might need to change your car, you might need to change the way you eat, what you eat, look for organic food, which is usually more expensive, blah, 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 blah. Has extraordinary costs in lives lost as well as property. Yeah, it has a lot of costs. We have to pay those costs. Consider the costs of recent Western wildfires. Yeah, they were terrible, Boulder County, Colorado lost nearly 1,000 homes to a fire on December 30th, 2021. After a hot, dry summer and fall and little recent rain or snow. That's it. After these things, there was just little snow, there was little rain, and the wildfires are something that you might expect in such a situation. A study of California's fires in 2018, another hot, dry year, when the town of Paradise burned, estimated the damage, including health costs and economic disruption, at about $148.5 billion. Oh my God. That's the cost we are paying for not listening to science. Okay, guys, to put it in a nutshell, when people say we can't take action because action is expensive, they are in denial of the cost of inaction. Not doing anything is more expensive than doing something. Which one would you rather choose, or would you rather do? Myth number 5. Take a look at this beauty here. Our actions should always align with our social identity group. That's one of the things we always keep to. When we talk about identity, your membership in any group is also an issue. Like you might say, yeah, the people in my neighborhood, in my country don't do this, so why should I stand out? Why should I wear the scarlet letter? Why? In politically polarized society, polarized means divided society. There are different poles. Let's say, in the US we have the Conservative Party. No, we don't have the Conservative Party there. The Democrats, what is the other one? The Democrats and the liberals and the Democrats, for example, in the US. So, you see, it's polarized society. Individuals may feel pressured to make decisions based on what their social group believes. In the case of beliefs about science, this can have dire consequences. That's terrible consequences, As the world has seen with the COVID-19 pandemic, in the US alone, more than 825,000 people with COVID-19 have died, while powerful identity groups, like your political group or whatever, actively discourage people from getting vaccines or taking other precautions. Precautions are the things that you do before something bad happens so that you can prevent it or decrease the bad effect of that thing. And that could protect them. See how far it goes? Okay. Let's take a look at the main article on the website called The Conversation. I'm going to also include the link in the captions. Make sure to subscribe and also leave your comments below if you found it useful or not. Help me make this podcast better. I'm going to read a lot of other articles for you. Stay tuned. Bye bye.